Hey, what's up everyone? It's your girl Brain Sinead, and today I'll be sharing with you my February mid-month wrap-up. So yes, it's literally the middle of February. I cannot believe how fast this month has gone, but then again, this is the shortest month ever, and I think that's why I'm a little bit behind with reading. So let's go ahead and get started with my mid-month wrap-up. So the first book that I had read in February was The Girl in the Lake, and this was by India Hill Brown. I had listened to this on audiobook and I fell in love with this book so much. I love India's writing. I love her stories that she has created. This is the second book that she has written, and I fell in love with it. Now this book is following a girl named Celeste who is pretty much on a vacation and staying with her grandparents at their lake house along with her cousins. And so with Celeste, before she even gets to her grandparents' lake house, she is trying to learn how to swim. Her parents tell her it's very, very, very vital and very important to learn how to swim. So the whole family, is learning how to swim, and she just cannot. She just hates the water. She's scared of it, and she's not very confident in her swimming. But during this time, her parents felt like it was best that she would go stay with her grandparents for like a weekend or something like that, along with her cousins, to get her have more confidence in herself about swimming. And so her grandparents, it was even telling her, yes, it's very important to learn how to swim. Majority of the Black community does not know how to swim. There's a very small percentage. And it goes into the history of that during the time of slavery, and also during time of segregation, where we weren't allowed to learn how to swim, and we didn't have pools either to even have to learn, because we really wanted to. There were many people that wanted to learn to swim, but there weren't a lot of pools for Black people during that time of segregation. And then when we did have our pools and stuff like that, white people would pour literally acid into the water and other things as well. Even when there was integration, white people felt like they did not want to swim with Black folks because they felt like they would dirty up the water. So they would literally poison the water, put acid in it, and all types of stuff in it, just to make sure Black people did not learn how to swim, and that they did not swim with the white community. So that is how it breaks down with history, and that's why Celeste is still trying to conquer her fear into swimming. And so as she's with her cousins and her grandparents, they go into the history of the lake, and how Celeste found a picture of her great aunt, and who looks just like her. And so everybody was like, oh my gosh, that could literally be your twin. And Celeste wanted to know what happened to their great aunt, and her grandmother didn't want to get into it, and she didn't want to talk about her sister, But then things start to happen in the lake house. A lot of mysterious things are happening. Some people, her cousin is pushed down the stairs and stuff like that, and her cousins are thinking that it's Celeste that is doing all this to them, and it really isn't. It's their great aunts, because she looks just like her. And so, one day Celeste ends up, confronting what's been going on, and it is her great aunt that is, pretty much causing all this commotion, right? And out of all that, the reason why their great aunt was doing all this and scaring them in certain situations, it was to conquer their fears. And so one of her cousins was scared to drive, and so her aunt found ways to make her drive and have confidence in herself and to conquer that fear, and she was able to drive. Then you have Celeste, who was scared to swim, but she conquered her fear. Her aunt, that's all what her aunt wanted to do, was to have her family conquer their fears, regardless of what it is, regardless if it's for swimming, driving, regardless of going out into wilderness and, scared of bears and stuff like that, to conquer your fears. And then her grandmother soon tells her what happened to their great aunt, and she had drowned in that lake, and that's the reason why they had built their house near that lake. Her aunt was so determined to swim, and it just didn't happen the way that she wanted to, and she drowned. And so I felt like this book was really, really good. I loved it. I gave it a 3.5 stars. I really enjoyed this book. Like I said, India did a great job with this. In her first book, The Forgotten Girl, she did a marvelous job, and she did a fantastic job with her second book. So yeah, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars, and I really enjoyed this read. The audiobook was amazing. I'm probably going to end up getting my physical copy really soon, but that was my first book that I read in February. The next book that I read is actually a picture book. It's Freedom Soup by Tammy Charles. I had read this to my kids, and my daughter has read it with me. And this is featuring pretty much a family eating and preparing freedom soup. And freedom soup is from Haiti, and it was made because they were pretty much slavery was abolished in 1803, and so they would make freedom soup, and I really love the aspect of that. And and during that time when slavery ended in Haiti, that's when they celebrated, was eating freedom soup. And literally in this book, it has the ingredients on how to make freedom soup, and now my kids want to make it, and we probably will end up doing that. It sounds really good. I love soup, and I think this freedom soup sounds amazing. But freedom soup was just fantastic. My kids were just enthralled with this book. When it comes to soup, they love soup, especially my daughter. And so when we read freedom soup, she's like, oh my gosh, Mom, we need to make this freedom soup like right now. And I'm like, okay, we need to get all the ingredients and stuff, which I found that very cool in the book because it has all the ingredients you needed, or you can alternate certain ingredients in it to change it up a bit on how you prefer it, what your preference is, pretty much. So yeah, I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars, of course. My kids loved it. I loved it. So, probably this weekend we're going to be making freedom soup. So this is the second book that I read in February. The next book that I read in February is You Should See Me Wear a Crown, or You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. This is one of the books that I read for the Missy Elliott Readathon, and I was just so excited to join and be, join and participate. And this was the book, one of the group reads that I wanted to read, and I just fell in love with it. This story is about a girl, about a girl named Liz, and she is determined to go to school to Pennington, and get a scholarship there, and also be part of the orchestra because she's a musician. She loves music, but Liz doesn't get that scholarship. So Liz is trying to figure out, what can I do so I can go to Pennington, because Liz doesn't want her grandparents selling their house in order for Liz to go to college and also get a medical degree, because Liz also wants to help patients with sickle cell, because Liz's brother is sick as well, so she wants to do that to help sickle cell patients. So Liz is trying to figure out, okay, what can I do? And then here comes prom, and then she finds out that from her best friends that prom also gives scholarship money to the king and queen. So she's pretty much like, okay, in order for me to do this, I need to become prom queen. So she goes through all these motions and does all these tests and does all these appearances get to the prom, get on the court and stuff, and then go on from there. But she ends up meeting Rachel, who is also new to the school, and Liz is starting to have feelings for Rachel, and Rachel tells her, like, yeah, I'm out. I prefer as they and them. And Liz is trying to still figure out, things and stuff like that. And she's scared on, admitting that she really has feelings for Rachel, because Liz feels that if she's out and exposed, she's going to lose everything and everyone. And that's not the case. And I think Rachel was just giving Liz some space, having Liz figure out some things, even, it mentions that Liz has difficulty trying to, about her sexuality. And I think, that happens. And I think she had come to the conclusion and I felt like she, at the very end, when she found out what she wants in life, and that Liz wants Rachel in her life, she's out. She said, she claimed it. And I love that about Liz. I think she was very fearless and confident in herself at the very end of the book, which I really do love. Throughout the book, she progressed into finding who Liz is. And I really, really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 4 stars out of 5. I really enjoyed this book. I love the pace of it. And of course, Liz, I don't want to spoil it, but things happen for Liz that ends up turning out to be a good thing in the long run. You know, especially since she lives with her grandparents and her brother, and, you know, her mother is no longer with Liz and stuff. I think like throughout this book, Liz goes through a lot of things, and she starts to find herself. And I love that about Liz. I love that about this book, and how it's about finding yourself and how to maneuver through life and how to still do things. You can still be able to accomplish what you want in life. And I found this book really good. Really, really good. I loved it. So I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. And I probably will end up reading the next book by Leah Johnson, which I don't know what it is. I know it's like The Sunrise, something like that. But I do look forward to reading that book. And I'm so glad that I picked up You Should See Me in a Crown. It was fantastic, and I loved it. The next book, which I did a whole review about it on its own video, own video, and that is Yinka, Where's Your Husband? This is by Lizzie Demalola Blackburn. Like I said, I had done a review about this book because I really enjoyed this so much. So I'm gonna leave that link up above in the card so you can check out the video after you watch this one. But yeah, love this book so much. I definitely recommend it if you haven't picked this book up yet. And then let's go to the next book, which I read, and this was for the Blackathon, and I wanted to read this book. It was one of my anticipated reads of 2022, and that is Akata Woman by Nedi Okorafor. This is when we're still following Sunny, Chi-Chi, Sasha, and Olu. And in this story, I feel like in this, Sunny is she's still finding herself and learning more things about her juju. And with this, we're following a big, humongous spider who confronts Sunny, who the spider is called Udade. And she tells Sunny, like, you need to get this artifact that was stolen from me years ago by your people. And she says by your people because Sunny is also a Nim warrior, and she's a Nim warrior because her grandmother was. So she is part of the Nim warrior, of the Nim women. So Udade even threatens Sunny. He's like, if you don't do this, I will destroy everything you love. I will destroy your village. I'll destroy everything. Anything and everyone that you love and care about. So pretty much they're on this journey. Her, Sunny, Chi-Chi, Sasha, Olu, they're all on this journey to find this artifact because it's very important and very vital. But also during this time when they go on this journey, Sunny is starting to find herself, and also her spirit face, which she's sort of detached from in a sense. You know, she's starting to grasp her spirit face as well. Even though they're not together and they're not joined, I forget the word, what they use in the book. Sunny is starting to embrace her spirit face and starting to take in more things, especially with her juju. And I think that with this book alone, Sunny has become so advanced with her juju. It's crazy. Like it's just black girl magic filled with black girl magic in this book, which I so loved about this. I gave this book, of course, a 5 out of 5 stars. I loved everything about this. This is not the last book. If you did not know, this is not the last book. There's going to be more to come when it comes to Sunny, Chi-Chi, Olu, and Sasha. And I also love the love interest between Sunny and Olu. And then there's also times in this book where also Sunny deals with her family, especially her father, who's more patriarchal, and feels like he's the head of the house, and Sunny feels like, since she's albino and stuff like that, she feels like he doesn't really love her, but that was never the case. And so in the book we find out the reason why, the way he is, and how he treats Sunny a certain way. And then even in the spirit face, her spirit face name, it also is a part of Sunny that she didn't realize and did not discover until later on, as they're on this journey to find the artifact that was stolen from Udade. And it's connected to Sunny's father as well. So I loved how things connected. I love how her spirit face was always pretty much with her, and throughout her life until when they came back to Nigeria, and all that good stuff. I don't want to spoil it. I really don't, because I think that you need to read this for yourself. I read the first 2 books in 1 month and loved it so much. And then I read this one and I'm just so enthralled with it. I love the journey. I love the world that they're in, especially when they go to off world, like in a different dimension and stuff like that. I found that very fascinating. So yeah, I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, and I'm definitely cannot wait to see what Nedi Okorafor has in store for us as far as Sunny, Chi-Chi, Sasha, and Olu goes. But yeah, a 5 out of 5 stars for Akata Woman. The next book that I had read, which I wanted to read last year, but I didn't get my copy until this year, and that is The Bronze Beast by Roshanitrovsky. This book was amazing. We're still following Severin and stuff, but in the very beginning of the book, Layla is still pretty much dying. She only has a few days left, and she doesn't know she can trust Severin. And Severin, he's trying to save Layla. In order to do that, he has to use the lyre in order to claim godhood. And he didn't realize like he was the instrument that they needed in order to claim godhood. And he feels like he needs to do this to save not only Layla, but also to bring back Tristan, his brother that was killed in the first book, which was the Gilded Wolves. And this is featured in Venice. So in this series, we're going to different countries. On the first book, we went to France. Second book, we were in Russia. This book right here, the third one, we're in Venice. So this book was very, very, very good. I love historical fiction, and it also has some fantasy in it as well. I feel like this book is definitely something in the series. It's definitely something that I will really will reread. It was fast paced. I loved how within each character, especially Enrique, how he felt confident and wanted to eventually he fell in love with Sophia, who is who's another character in this book. And I love the fact that there's queer rep in this book, and it's also very diverse as well. And I just fell in love with it. I was enthralled with this book so much, and I love the love interest between Layla and Severin. And at the very end, I did cry because, you know, since Severin is a god in a sense, you know, he sees people leave, like as in pass away. He as he is living, his loved ones, like the main characters in these books, he sees that, you know, they're no longer with him. They moved on, right? They passed away. And I really cried at that, but at the same time, I loved how each character was developed. I love how each character became confident in themselves, and I also loved Enrique, who is the historian in the series, and he finally figured out what he wanted to do in life, and that was to become a teacher. And he felt like that was the best way to get a hold of people and to have the people that he's teaching love history the way he loves history, right? So I gave this 4 stars, and I just fell in love with this world. I'm so sad that this is the last and final book of the series, but I definitely will continue on reading Roshanitrovsky's books. I find her writing fascinating. I also was hybrid reading this book, so I was following along as I was listening to the audiobook. But yeah, I fell in love with this world. I'm sad it's over, but I know Roshani has something else in store for us, so I am excited for that. But yeah, I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. Now, this next book that I finished like a couple days ago, or yesterday actually, and this is also part of the Blackathon, and this is the group read, and that is Escaping Exodus by Nikki Drayden. Oh my gosh. Now, I'm not a huge fan of sci-fi, but this makes me want to be, because this was so good. Now I want to read the next book, which is Symbiosis, I think, is the second book for this. And I fell in love with this book. I fell in love with the characters of Seska and Adala, and how they had their love interest, and, you know, things didn't go the way they planned. And also, I love the fact that their ships was actually beasts. So in this book, Seska is pretty much royalty, and then you have Adala, who is the beast worker, who pretty much keeps their ship running, which is their ship is a beast. So she wants to work with the heart of the beast. And so with the beast workers, they work on making sure it continues to function and it doesn't die and stuff like that. And then you have Seska, who's still trying to find herself and also trying to see what she can do with the throne and yada, 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 even though her sister, who she calls Sisterkin, is trying to take over the throne and undermine her. Pretty much mutiny, pretty much. Since it's a ship, let's call it mutiny, right? And then throughout this book, Sisterkin is still trying to claim the throne and trying to claim a name for herself, and her, like, their mother is trying to see which one would be best fit for the throne. And, you know, Seska obviously is. And then and to make it more legitimate, I think, in this book, she ends up marrying Doka, who she thinks he's okay, right? Like, she doesn't really like love him, nothing like that. She mostly has feelings for Adala. And I think when Seska claimed that she would marry Doka, that caught Adala off guard, and that like shattered Adala's heart. So she lost all trust in Seska, and Seska is still trying to put their pieces together. But within this book, there's a lot going on, especially with the matriarchy and the beast and stuff like that, and how it's starting to not work properly and malfunction. And then Seska is coming up with conclusions on how they can survive, and so that they don't be extinct. But Adala ends up rising up from, you know, like the beast workers, who pretty much they are looked down upon when it comes to Seska's royalty and the throne. And they're trying to pretty much start a revolution to have everyone be considered equal, right? But within this book, also things start to happen with the beast, and then Seska's also trying to figure out, okay, our main goal was to find a planet that would sustain us, and that way we could live on the planet and not be on beasts for decades and decades, you know? So there is that. But overall, this was a very good book. Like I said, I'm not a huge sci-fi person, but this really like it surprised me. I just fell in love with this book. I love how it has royalty. I love like the relationships within this book. It's just really phenomenal. The writing is good. The cover is beautiful too. So yeah, Nikki Drayden did an amazing job with this. I don't know why it took me so long to read this book, but I'm glad that I did. I'm glad it was a group read for the Blackathon. And yes, I definitely will be picking up Symbiosis, probably not next month, but the following month. So yeah, I definitely will be picking it up, and I want to see what happens with Seska and Adala, because also we find out a little, you know, about Seska and stuff like that, and how her body is starting to change now. You know, I don't want to spoil it. You guys gotta read it. Like, if you like sci-fi, you gotta read it. If you don't like sci-fi but want to step into sci-fi, this is a good book. I know a lot of people had DNF'd it, and it's understandable. I think what really would help is the audiobook, because that's what got me through the book. So I was hybrid reading. I followed along as I was listening to the audiobook, and that really helped me. So you could I think that would be a good suggestion from my part, to, if you can't just read it like, you know, just with the book alone, I suggest you also listen to it on audiobook. It definitely will help. It definitely will enlighten you as well. Like, the audiobook is really, really good. But yeah, I gave this 4 stars, and I'm excited to read the next one. But yeah, there you have it. That's it. Those are the books that I've read recently. In February, I'm currently reading Our Violent Ends by Chloe Gong, which is it's the duology. So the first book is These Violent Delights, and then we have Our Violent Ends by Chloe Gong. So I'm currently reading that. If you have read that book, let me know down below in the description what you thought of it. I'm currently in the middle of it, and I'm actually enjoying it. But just let me know what your thoughts are. But overall, that is it. That is my February mid-month wrap-up. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I really hope you are having a fantastic and great month, and you're doing, you know, taking care of yourself. Self-care is the best care. And, you know, I hope everyone's being safe, and everyone, and, you know, and everything, and just hope everyone is having a great month, and also having a great Black History Month as well. But anyways, that is it. Like I said, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please, if you did, please give me that thumbs up. Also hit that button, you know, to subscribe, and also hit that bell to get notifications when I'll be uploading more videos in the future. But thank you so much for watching, you guys. Please stay healthy and stay safe. See ya.